Okay, everyone, welcome back to What's the Tea with South Suburban Family Shelter. My name is Angela. I am with the Community Education Department, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Kelly, and she is a Safe from the Start project coordinator as well as our children's counselor. Okay, so we really want to thank her for coming in. We really appreciate you. Now, I know for some of you all that's watching this video, you're wondering why you only see one human being and not two. Okay, so because Kelly is with our counseling department, we protect her confidentiality just like we would do with our clients. Okay, so that's why you see there is a stock photo there. Okay, so don't be alarmed. There's nothing wrong with your device. Okay, it's just for confidentiality purposes. Okay, so today we're doing something different. I have my tea, and we want to know your flavors. So feel free to comment below, what tea are you drinking? Okay, so today I am drinking kombucha tea. Kombucha, yes, that is what it is. So it has a couple benefits. It protects the liver. Okay, it has probiotics, but it has the good bacteria. Okay, it helps with enhancing the mood. So it helps with also the digestive system. So it has a lot of different things. So be sure you comment below what tea you're drinking. Be sure to like our page and share our video. Okay, so hi, Kelly. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well, Angela.
That is great. So we just want to thank you again for being here, speaking with us today. We really appreciate it. And this is just going to be really interesting because me personally, I love the counseling department. So it's really good to have a representative from you all, okay? So before we get started, I want to start off with an icebreaker, okay?
Sure. Go for it.
So my icebreaker, if you could work in any department at South Suburban Family Shelter, which one would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would probably choose the medical advocacy department. I think in a lot of ways it's pretty similar to the counseling department because you're hearing people's stories and then you're providing them that emotional support and education on domestic violence. I think there's such a valuable resource to have in the medical facilities. You know, a patient may be there for a medical issue unrelated to domestic violence, and then once they speak to a medical advocate, they may realize that they're actually a victim of domestic violence or a past victim of domestic violence, and then they want counseling services. So I think it's a really amazing resource to have. And, you know, some people don't know that South Suburban Family Shelter exists. So I think it's great, you know, spreading the word, especially in the medical field.
That's really interesting, especially that you say that a lot of people don't know that we're around. You know, this is what, our 40th year, you know, that we've been around and providing services to our community. So we're here, we've been here, and we're ready to help you all. So that's really important because I know the medical advocacy program, they work so hard. You know, they work really hard, and that is a really interesting experience to partake in. So Kelly, this is What's the Tea. So I must ask you, have you always been in the counseling department or have you worked in any other department?
Well, I've been with the agency for 12 years, and I started off in the school-based violence prevention program. I was there for a few years, and then I received my master's in social work from Governor State, and then I transitioned into the counseling department.
Thank you for sharing. You know, I had to ask because that is just inspiring coming from where we are. So yes,
sure.
You are definitely a professional within the agency. So we just had to get the tea out of you for that. So thank you.
Of course. You're welcome.
So I know many people that's watching this, maybe they don't know about the counseling department. Maybe they don't know about your program goals, the services you offer. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, let's start with the adult counseling program. First, that program helps to empower, support, and provide domestic violence education to victims of domestic violence. So the adult counselors believe in client self-determination, and they would never tell a client what to do. They really meet the client where they are. And of course, we don't only see women, we see men who are victims of domestic violence as well. We really stress confidentiality, and this begins right at the very beginning during the intake process. You know, we go over the counseling office, you know, being in a secure and confidential location, and clients cannot share that location with anyone. And this is for the safety of both the clients and the counselors. And in addition to counseling for adults, we also provide parenting classes, support groups, and then we have a case manager who assists clients with financial empowerment. Next, with the children's counseling program, we provide advocacy, support, and violence education to children who have experienced or witnessed domestic violence to prevent those future family patterns of domestic violence. So we focus on violence education, emotional health and intelligence, and then healthy family relationships. And then confidentiality as well is stressed with the children when they begin counseling services. And then the other program that we have under the counseling department would be our Safe from the Start program. So it's a children's program with specialized services in helping children ages birth to 5 and their families who've been exposed to violence or trauma. So even if there are older siblings in the family over 5, they would qualify for services as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be domestic violence that they're in for. You know, we may be seeing a family who's been impacted by community or school violence, or maybe they've had like a house fire, for example. So that's a little bit about our counseling program.
Wow, that is awesome. You all provide a lot of services to the community that's probably kind of unheard of, you know. And I do want to point out the fact that you did state that we provide services to men as well, because a lot of times when we speak to individuals, especially within myself in the school, you know, a lot of people don't think that a guy or a male could be a victim of domestic violence, and it's actually very true and very common, unfortunately. So I really like the fact that you also stated that as well.
Absolutely. And when we're working with the kids, you know, and we're doing that domestic violence education piece with them, we let them know that it isn't just women that are victims of domestic violence, because I think that that's important for them to know.
Absolutely. So my next question to you. So I know that traditionally the counseling program involves working in person in an intimate setting. So how has the quarantine impacted the process for clients and staff? And has there been any changes within the children clients as well?
Well, it's been pretty difficult for both the adult and children's counselors. You know, we're really big on confidentiality, as I stated before, and this has been challenging for some of our clients during quarantine. We've continued to maintain contact with a lot of our clients over the phone, but it's not possible for all of them. For example, let's say a counselor may be trying to have a counseling session over the phone with a client who's a single mother and her children are right there, or they're busy homeschooling the kids. And, you know, obviously we wouldn't want the kids to hear the counseling session. That's just, you know, not appropriate. And then the identified abuser might also be in the home. So there's a number of things we have to look at. We've definitely had to be creative. It's difficult for our clients to balance everything. You know, being a children's counselor, it's been really tough because the techniques that I use with the kids are more hands-on, which is obviously hard to do when you're on the phone with a child. You know, especially the younger kids, I mean, their attention spans are a little bit shorter and they can be distracted by, you know, other things that are going on in the house. So confidentiality and privacy is also an issue. You know, the identified abuser might be in the home and the child may not want their caregivers hearing everything that they're sharing with the counselor. But right now we are in the process of acquiring a platform to be able to have video sessions with our clients. But again, we always have to make sure that this is safe and confidential for each of our clients.
Absolutely. I can just only imagine how scary that could be as well to even, want to partake in that conversation at this time. So I definitely understand. And I know, we kind of touched on it, but my next question kind of relates to it. So in this instance, how has it impacted the intakes for counseling?
Okay. Intakes have actually slowed down a bit again. There's other things that people are dealing with right now. They're in that survival mode. They're trying to figure out how to be safe,
Yeah.
how to get groceries for their families, homeschooling the kids. And, if they're stuck at home with the abuser, it's even harder for them to reach out for us. They're even more isolated. So, but if anyone does call for counseling services, they will get a return phone call within 24 to 48 hours. If it's an emergency, they are directed to call the hotline. And then if they need shelter, they're also directed to call the hotline. Right now, adult assessments are actually being done over the phone, but eventually we will be able to do them face to face again.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that you all are still finding, to be very resilient during this time, because that just shows the strength of you all as workers within our agency. And we just really appreciate you all as well. Um, so
Thank
tell
you.
us the tea. How's the quarantine treating you? How are you balancing home and work life during this time? Because I know, even just from experience, that could be very challenging.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting and at times it's been challenging balancing everything. One of the things I know that my family and I like to do is we like to make sure that we're able to get outside when we can. So whether it's taking a walk or playing in the backyard, planting flowers, or bird watching, yes, we've become bird watchers during this
So
time.
that's different.
It's very different. So, my son, he actually learned how to ride his bike during quarantine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, we just try to make sure that we get a little time in just to, enjoy that family time while we can. But one of the things that's been hard working from home is I almost feel like I'm constantly on. So, whereas if you're in the office, when you leave and you don't keep checking your emails nonstop. But when you're at home, you're constantly checking your emails. You're making sure everything's okay and, your clients are okay. So it's kind of like you are constantly on. But I know one of the things that kind of helped is homeschooling is now over for for the school year. So that was kind of tough doing the homeschooling. But
Absolutely.
yeah. So now that he's, done with school, that's one less thing that's taken off of our plates. So
I feel like we can relate so much right now, especially with trying to get out and still enjoy that family time. We've definitely been getting out to different parks. We went to the Starved Rock State Park, so we've been trying to get out a little bit. But I definitely understand just being able to balance that, because even when I'm in the office before the quarantine, I had problems with turning off, work and going home and not checking my email. So now that I'm home all the time and this is my office, it's like 10 times worse. So that's something I definitely have to work on as well. So that's very relatable.
yeah, I do feel that that's something, I need to work on, just knowing that, okay, once it hits this time in the day, you shouldn't be checking your emails. But again, I've been struggling with that.
Right. I know my boss will say, delete the apps off your phone, try to do something to take the steps to not check your emails.
Right.
Oh, right. Okay, so my next question for you. So, what are some precautions or what are some of the next steps the department plans to take to be able to offer services again more efficiently, should I say, to the community?
Sure. So since we're currently in phase 3, we're still in the process of developing the next steps to start seeing clients in person. We are still having contact with clients over the phone. And like I said before, we will start the video chat soon. There are those higher risk families, though, that can't use those methods. So we'll be seeing them face to face soon. There's a lot of safety and health precautions, obviously, when seeing clients in person again right now. Anyone over the age of 2 would be required to wear a face mask. And we'll be they'll be providing us and the clients with face masks. We'll be using social distancing. In between clients, the counselors will have to disinfect their rooms and wipe everything down. And of course, there can be no more than 10 people in the office at a time. We're really using the governor's and the CDC's guidelines. So we're hoping in the next few weeks to see the process getting started, but they want to be cautious and not rush for everyone's safety.
No, that's very understandable. But what I can say is from the outside looking in, you all are very buckled up and ready to go to get back to providing those services. So I do know there are steps to take, but I am glad to hear that it's sunshine at the end of this tunnel for you all.
Absolutely.
So just furthermore, is there any other tea that you would like to share with us today about the counseling department, or is there anything that maybe a lot of people are not aware of within your department that you'd like to share?
Well, first, I just want to say that we are all really missing our clients. I know that I'm missing my kiddos.
Yes.
It's nice to actually be able to have that in-person connection with the child, because like I said, there's obstacles to speaking over the phone with them. But when they come in the office, they know that they're in a safe place and they can share what they need to share. It's part of their weekly routine and they enjoy coming in. And as we know, routine helps many of the kids feel safe and secure. And a lot of the kids are struggling with all of the changes that are happening during the quarantine. And this is something we continue to process with them over the phone. And then we'll continue to process with them eventually when they come back to the office. But, when we first start seeing them, and we've actually been talking on the phone about this, there's going to be changes. We're going to have to talk about why we're 6 feet apart and why we can't touch certain things, certain toys and things like that. So it's really going to be a process with them. There's a lot of changes, and even just the face mask, that's going to be difficult, I think, for some of the kids.
It's so interesting that you're saying that, because I didn't even think about those conversations that you all would have to have, and how scary it is. Well, why do I have to put on a face mask around Miss Kelly? Why can't I do this? So I never really thought about that. So that's really interesting that you brought that conversation to the surface.
Yeah, so we're hoping everything, will go well, but it's definitely something that needs to be processed with all of the kids.
No, understandable. Well, Kelly, I do want to thank you so much for tuning in with us for this episode of What's the Tea. We want to thank you for your transparency, just to having this conversation with us about your personal life and work life. And we just want to tell our viewers, thank you again for tuning in. And if you're interested in learning more about South Suburban Family Shelter, make sure you tune in next week as we spill the tea. And again, we just want to encourage you all to like our page, share our video, let your friends know to tune in next week as well with us. So we do want to thank you, and thank you again, Kelly, and we hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much.